All righty, so we're now done with our public hearings. We need to go back to
City manager.
the city manager, and we're pulling item D from the consent calendar. So we really need to go back to item D, and that is the old courthouse and a VCTC agreement. That would go to Mr. Fox.
Yeah, Your Honor, this was a long time ago. This was on the consent agenda, but I'm still going to only recommend that we extend it 1 year. So
Say that again?
we've used up so much time, we need a longer extension. The city and the Ventura County Transportation Commission entered into an agreement where we would work together to have them redevelop the old courthouse building that we are selling to them, and we've divided the project really into 2 parcels. The building is on one parcel, or will be on one parcel, and the parking lot will be on another parcel. I give you that background because it'll feed into some of the comments I'll make in a minute. The VCTC will buy the parcel that the building is on. They will own the building, and we will retain ownership of the parking lot, however, enter into an agreement with them where they will be able to use the parking lot, and we will be able to have the parking lot available for certain events like farmers market and so on. The agreement spelled out all the details of the purchase process, and the one element that was somewhat unknown as we entered into this is how long it would take for the VCTC to develop the plans and ultimately construct the improvements to the building. And we put together a schedule that we felt was reasonable, but also knew that things would have to pretty much work well to stay on that schedule. So we built in a provision that the schedule could be extended by a year, and I'll get into the 2 elements of the schedule in a moment, but it could be extended by a year. And there was some question as to whether that agreement gave the administrative authority to staff to extend that, or whether that was intended to come back to the council, even though it was already spelled out in the agreement. So just to be safe, we put this back on the agenda for you, so you'd be aware of where this is in the process. And since it's on the agenda, we felt it would be a good opportunity to also add some clarity to another part of the agreement that was, again, very limited at the time in vision, because we knew that there'd be some improvements to the parking lot, but without any design and any analysis. When this agreement was first formed, we really didn't have a lot of detail to go off of, and we were making our best guess as to what would be needed. And so we felt this would be an opportunity to clarify that as well, and I'll get into that clarification. So the agreement had laid out that by next month, by February of 2017, the intent was for the VCTC to be pulling building permits and be ready to start work on the building, and then they would have 2 years to complete the improvements to receive an occupancy permit. We're looking to extend both those dates, give them another year before they would have to pull building permits, and then they would, from that point, have the 2 years to complete the construction. What's happened is what is fairly common with projects that are particularly something where it's a combination of science and art, where you're doing building renovations, so you know what you have to build to be a safe building, but you also have you want it to look nice. And so when the VCTC put together their first version of what they wanted to build, and then a cost estimate came in, they realized that it was quite a bit over budget, and they need now to go through a value engineering process of looking to try and retain all of the important features and still have a very aesthetically desirable looking building, but get closer to their budget. And again, that's fairly common when you're looking at a building, that you do have to go through a value engineering process, and that's what the VCTC has requested. There's a letter in your packet explaining that, and staff does support that. The idea of extending the using the provision in the agreement to extend the schedule another year to allow them to really accomplish two things, get closer to their budget, but still provide something that as they go through the review, our planning department review, they provide a building just like any other building review that occurs in our community that meets our community design standards, and we'll continue to hold them to that. As far as the parking lot, originally we just knew the pavement wasn't in very good condition and there needed to be an overlay, and so we had put in an initial description of the overlay and a cost associated with that, and we agreed that the VCTC and the city would share that cost. However, at the time, we felt that we would probably be paving the parking lot because we'd have the ability to combine that with one of our other paving contracts and get economies of scale and so on. However, now that we've gotten deeper into the design and understand, some of the design elements we want to achieve in the parking lot, some aesthetic treatments, some landscaping, they're going to provide safety lighting. It may very well turn out that it would make sense for them to provide the parking lot improvements along with their other construction, particularly because then they can control the schedule of both the parking lot and the building improvements. And yet it still may make sense for us because it still, again, includes pavement, and we could combine it with another contract. So we want to just clarify, instead of dictating who would do the work, that we would just agree to share the costs, and that was the original concept. And then we also wanted to spell out that there would be the ornate treatments, that there would be the safety lighting and so on, and be a little more specific in those improvements. So that's really the two main items before you in this. Is you don't see in the addendum any reference to a new language for extending it, because that's already in the agreement. We're just calling upon that language to give authority to staff to extend the schedule 1 year. And then the language we are looking to amend, and that is in the addendum, is being more specific about the parking lot improvements.
Okay. Anything else from staff? I believe, Mr. Morgan, you had a question, and Mr. Chimbley had a question on this one.
He explained what I needed. I just needed some more detail about what was going on. But now I see we anticipate another year. And then 2 years of construction after that, so 3 years from now. That seems like a long time, but I guess that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, again, that's the outside schedule defined by the agreement. Our hope is that they can find ways, and they're interested in as well. And they want to move to their new office, and they're interested in trying to find ways to accelerate the schedule. So hopefully they can do better than the 3 years.
Okay.
I had a couple of questions. Thank you, Madam Mayor. First one is, well, actually, it's more of an observation. So this initial contract with VCTC happened in early 2015 before I arrived, and so as the rookie on the dais, I need some education. I want to be sensitive to what VCTC has done to date in terms of the design work and the amount of public dollars that VCTC has spent on preliminary design and other project costs. So first question, though, to step back just a few years. A question for my edification is, can you summarize the city's past efforts in disposition of this building and how VCTC was selected to purchase the building? Is there a succinct summary that somebody can offer me on that one?
That was Mr. Fang as city manager, so
Except that
Tom,
I want to know how we got to where we are now.
I'll tell you what, let me go back and I'll work with the city clerk to find some previous agenda items, and we'll get those to you.
All right.
we did, I mean, we went through a process, we advertised, so it was a long process of trying to find somebody.
I'm aware it's been a long,
Yes.
slow, torturous process.
Right.
And I'm also aware we've been in this process with VCTC since early 2015, and I respect that. I'm just
Everything's
trying to know how we got to where we are now.
The only other people we talked to about the building were the little theater in Ventura before they filed bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
And they
We couldn't get anybody to do it.
couldn't get originally we wanted a theater type of thing. Yeah.
Were there any community meetings in Old Town to ask for, I just want to know, were there any community meetings or forums to ask for input on how the city could dispose the wrong word, but have this property utilized in a way that benefited Old Town?
The the Citizens Advisory Committee to the redevelopment area, which consisted of 25 people, yes, it went to them several times.
Okay, as part of the RDA process then?
Right, and they had one of
Okay.
those workshops.
And we did. We had 2 public workshops.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Now, going to the parking lot, now going back down into the weeds. Thank you. Now going back down into the weeds. The scope of the parking lot improvements, do we have an estimated cost? The original cost estimate was about $75,000. Do we have any idea, based on a look at the preliminary design plans, what that might cost?
We don't have a detailed estimate at this point because their design that they initially came up with was looking at providing a lot of landscaping and because of stormwater controls and a lot of the regulations that can, and this is something in California, the regulations can create huge expense for businesses. They were looking at about $700,000 of improvements to the parking lot. We recognize that's a pretty, $700,000 or more, $100,000. In looking at ways that we can still end up with a nice-looking parking lot with good safety lighting and bike access, we feel there's ways to redesign it to get that cost down. That's part of the value engineering. But if I had to throw a number out, everybody's used to hearing me say $500,000, and so I'll stick with that. So, no, we don't have a firm cost at this point, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And these are public ratepayer funds, so public funds. I'll just leave it at that. Public funds. Next question is: will the increase, the new modifications, that'll result in an increase or a decrease in the number of square feet in the parking lot parcel that the city will retain for special events and farmers market? Will there be an increase or decrease? I'm trying to look at impacts.
It'll be the same.
Yeah, we don't anticipate an increase or decrease. Yeah, the original plan addressed the provision to keep the farmers market there, and that's still part of our ultimate goal. That's why the city's going to retain ownership of the.
So in essence, it's a wash, or it's neutral.
Correct.
From that standpoint.
And any analysis we do keeps that consideration in mind.
But one of the things that's unique in parking lots in the city require that every so often there's a planter and landscaping and features that in this particular case would have interfered with the space available for the farmers market. So instead we're looking at features like stamped concrete that's flush with the pavement that you could put a booth on top of, so you still have the same amount of space, but there will be some features to break up the large sea of asphalt and make it a little more aesthetically pleasing.
Right. So we're not hindering the special events and farmers market and other events that
Correct.
occur on that parking lot parcel.
Correct.
No, in fact, we vetted that with Sandy Nuremberg and with Mike Morgan about how the layouts would impact Fiesta and the farmers market.
Two more quick questions. One is, so to go back to, do we have any idea how much in public funds VCTC has spent to date on this project in terms of design work? I would think I'm going to guess it's a material amount of funds, but I don't know. These are soft costs. We don't have
that information,
anybody here?
but
Mr.
you
Kettle?
are correct that it's, I'm sure, a significant amount of money they've invested so far.
Probably somewhere in excess of, what would you guess?
Well, I don't know.
You wouldn't guess. Okay. All right. And then finally, just a mechanical question then. If I'm understanding it, on big page 46. Yeah, I'm learning. On big, so the First Amendment to the agreement on pages 45 and 46 respectively, there will no longer be the Exhibit G that is on page 44. It's simply going to be the descriptor under item 2.2 on page 45?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, that concludes my questions. Thank you.
And Mr. Fox, it does talk about landscape planters, but that'll be around the outside then, so it will have some trees and whatnot and.
Actually,
break it
no,
up.
there will not be any trees in the parking lot or close to Ventura Boulevard. There will be landscaping up adjacent to the building.
So in this, on big page 46, the parking lot improvements will require resurfacing with full width grind and 2-inch overlay, landscaped planters, and decorative treatment. So you're saying the landscape planters are gone?
No, they're along the building. So that you'll have landscaping between, there'll be a landscape strip between the building and the parking lot.
Oh, I thought that was part of the building.
Yeah, yeah. There's the slope adjacent to the building that's their landscape. There will be a planter
That's what I was picturing.
right along the parking lot that'll be, I mean, you could consider it part of the building, you consider it part of the parking lot, it's in that transition area.
Something green.
And then the other, the ornate treatments, the stamped concrete is what I referred to earlier, where it's a way to break up at least the sea of asphalt with a different color, different texture, but still be flush so that it allows the area to be used for special events.
And lighting.
And then the lighting is, yeah, they'll have safety lighting.
And my question, since we're talking about it, do we have redevelopment funds left that can be used for this?
Not in the way you think about it.
I know we have some other than housing, though. Well, you don't have to answer it now.
Yeah, we can certainly look at that.
I'm pretty
but,
sure there's some left that we could.
The reality of the fact is it's all general fund dollars today anyhow.
Well, that's true.
So,
But if you know,
yeah.
if where it came from and the fact that this is kind of still our leftover redevelopment
Oh, yeah, sure.
project, it kind of that nexus of where the funds are coming from.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Okay. All righty.
Your Honor, I will move to amend the purchase and development agreement to revise the parking lot scope and authorize extending the term of the agreement for 1 year.
A motion, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Kilby?
got it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Not, please vote. And that does pass unanimously.